everyone. Welcome to PopCultx episode 36. As always, this is Gabriel with Danny, the host of PopCultx, the pop culture show from a perspective of, let's call it, the older, wiser, cooler, hipper, Generation X point of view.
Why do you got to start with older? Why does that got to be the leading characteristic? You start with cooler,
last
hipper.
night my hip literally was hurting. I don't know if that's a new thing that's going to be occurring. So I'm feeling my age.
So hipper would have been good.
Yeah. So,
oh goodness.
Yeah,
yes.
there's that. That's really great. So
That's
I have
great.
that to look forward to. Yeah. Getting my hip replaced.
Yeah. Hip replacement surgery. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the horizon.
But outside of that
you.
fun, within the pop culture realm, I have continuing to watch Yellowjackets, which is probably the best show that I've seen this year. It's really original. The cast is amazing. Like I said before, Juliette Lewis, Christina Ricci. The soundtrack is literally like our generation. It happens. The group of girls that kind of are the main focus of the show, it occurs around, I think, like 95, 96. So it was like right when we were graduating high school.
Yeah.
So we're like the age of the character's present date. And so the music is like spot on. I think the soundtrack is actually done by the lead singer of a group called, I think, That Dog or something to that effect. It was like a pop alternative act with the lead singer was a female singer. And I was looking into it when I was watching the most recent episode because I'm like, they're doing a really great job with the music for the show. Like every episode, I'm like, it takes me back in time to like high school. And it's really interesting because it's, then it goes back to the present date or, back to the future of them being our age in their 40s and seeing how their lives have turned out and how the past impacted them. And, it's mixed in with like murder mystery. Maybe there's a supernatural aspect to it that hasn't come about yet, but I can't recommend it enough for everyone who has not seen it. Go to, the streaming services and maybe even buy this season because it's that good. It's
Oh wow.
It's amazing. It's really good and really creative. So
The ringing endorsement.
yeah, I literally like, it's such a good show. The music is so good. And it's not, it's a little on the creepy side, which I like, especially right now with Christmas. We're going to start getting bombarded with like the Hallmark movies of like the cliche, like Santa helper, love Christmas special 2 or whatever, all those like women falling in love and all that crap. So I kind of like the holidays to be mixed with a little bit of like spooky murder, I don't know. Maybe it makes you appreciate your loved ones a little bit more.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, this episode we're dedicating to our favorite holiday movies, and so mine kind of has to do with that. Like it kind of thematically fits in with, holidays being a little bit on the creepier side. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But
Interesting.
Outside of that, what else have you been up to, Danny? What have you?
Well, speaking of series and TV shows, I finished up Maya and the Three finally.
Nice.
Written, directed, of course, by the great Jorge Gutierrez. And it was fantastic. The whole, I think it's 9 episodes. Yeah, so it's split into like 3 different, you can split it into 3, groupings. But it was just really great, really well done. The voice actors were fantastic. The story itself and the way it was written, it was really moving. And you could see I don't know if you've seen it or if you plan on seeing it, so I don't want to give any spoilers, but there was only one way that the story could end. Mm-hmm. And even though you didn't want it to go that way, you knew it had to.
Yeah.
So you appreciated it more knowing that it was a sacrifice that had to be made.
Yeah.
And it was really good. Really, really good. Recommend it to anyone. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. Support the the writer, director, visual artist who created most of the stuff. He also did some of the voice acting in there. He also did the artwork for our next Book of the Month club for PopCultx Book of the Month, which is going to be Blood and Gold, the Legend of Joaquin Murrieta by Jeffrey Mariotte and Peter Murrieta, which is this book, of course, the artwork done by Jorge Gutierrez. As you can see, his style, Book of Life, Maya and the Three, it's all right there, which is what really drew me to it. But the actual story of this Joaquin Murrieta is what inspired like the Zorro character and legend. So it's really cool. I've read a couple of chapters already. It's going to be very interesting, and I will give you a full report, a book report, when I'm done. But yes, our next Book of the Month club for the PopCultx Book Club, Blood and Gold. Go pick it up today.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, just based off of the artwork, I would be attracted to it in a bookstore. So it's very wise of them to have picked him to do the artwork.
Yeah.
And then you telling me about the story, I went ahead and bought it for my dad for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
Because I think that's something that would be. Yeah, I know. Hopefully he doesn't listen to the podcast. So I am taking your recommendation. I'm going to buy it. I might buy a copy for myself to read it as well. I have a couple other books that I'm still behind in reading, but sounds like it's a really good pick. So I'm all about that. So
cool. Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm looking forward to diving into it. And we also might even have the author on the show down the line. So who knows?
Nice.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So getting into our topic for this podcast, we were discussing, what are our favorite movies to watch during this time? What are our favorite holiday movies? And so I'll go ahead and get started with my pick for this week for what my favorite holiday movie is. And it's sort of an off-ball, like you wouldn't necessarily think about holidays or Christmas when it comes to this particular film. But for me, it's one of my favorites. So it's Batman Returns by Tim Burton with Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, Michael Keaton. It takes place obviously within that time of Christmas. It's not necessarily a Christmas film, but he does such a good job, Tim Burton, of creating this like atmospheric world that I kind of just wish that I was part of, because it's sort of like it's like that gothy, like very eccentric characters, obviously superheroes and supervillains, but just like it always has like such a cool vibe about it. I mean, even like it's dark. It's I don't know. There's a sense of danger that makes the holidays a little bit sexier and cooler than just gift giving and holly jolly, miracle on whatever street. Yeah. And so I don't know, like I think it's cool. It makes me wish that it's like that fantasy world of Tim Burton that is just super hip and cool, that I wish I was part of, that I could be in.
It's also your favorite Batman movie, right?
It is, yeah. I don't think you can get any better than the characterizations of Catwoman, Penguin, and Batman than how they did it. And I think he married the comic book aesthetic to like gritty realism so perfectly that it wasn't super, ultra realistic and boring or super cartoony and fake and childish. It was like the perfect mixture of like where I lived in my fantasy life of, comic books and superheroes and goth and, punk and sort of, I don't know. It's just a perfect, like his aesthetic is so amazing and so like right up my alley that I love Tim Burton movies because of just his aesthetic. Sometimes the storytelling can get a little off when he does some of his movies. It's mostly his most recent films, but Batman Returns is like almost perfect. And then you have like the metaphor of like the Penguin, like getting all like the firstborn kids. And that's like the Bible story of like them trying to kill Jesus by getting all the firstborn. So there's like a little bit of like biblical reference to that, like Catwoman dying and resurrecting Selena Kyle and then coming back as Catwoman. So there's really cool aspects of it that you could really read into it. but just from a visual perspective, like I love looking at it, and all the little Christmas stuff that is going through, like gifts, and I don't know, it's just really cool. It's a cool Christmas movie to watch.
I remember watching that movie, and it was what's the right word for it? Not awkward for me, but Danny DeVito's portrayal of the Penguin is, makes you kind of squirm a little bit because
Yeah.
it's just to that right to the edge of where it's like, ooh, this is just, why is he doing that? It pushes that boundary, which I think was really cool, and revisiting as a grown up, you realize, wow, it's really good cinema that Tim Burton's able to do that. But as a child watching that, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep watching this type of thing.
Yeah, I think that he definitely was creepy. In a sense, you do kind of feel sorry for him because you imagine, okay, what would it be like to be born a so-called freak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how would that impact you being treated like that your whole life?
Yeah.
And then resenting people that are like normal or beautiful. So there's that sort of, and that's what Tim Burton sort of brings, is like that outsider perspective of,
Mm-hmm.
not fitting in, not being cookie cutter. And I think he has sort of a disdain for the common, like average man that I do. Like you kind of see it in Edward Scissorhands, which is also a
Yeah.
really good Christmas
Yeah.
movie where like
That's true. I
he
was about to
sees
say that.
like I think it's like Burbank or like it's very Southern California, like cookie cutter homes. Everyone looks the same. Now I
Mm-hmm.
would imagine that like the modern day version of that would be like Orange County, where everyone looks the same. Like you aspire to be
Mm-hmm.
exactly like your neighbor, and money and looks, and it's so like shallow and vapid and uninteresting.
Yeah.
And like the characters like Edward Scissorhands or Selena Kyle, Catwoman, or the Penguin, even though they're flawed and in some ways they're ugly, they're such beautiful characters.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Penguin, I would argue that there's like a part of him that's kind of like, I wouldn't say beautiful, but attractive in the sense that like you're drawn to him, like it's
Yeah.
charismatic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
And and the way that the people who are supposed to be beautiful are ugly and horrific because they're rotten on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something I definitely relate to with his aesthetic, and that's why I'm drawn to his films. And I don't know, like I love that. I love the world. Like it's a world that he creates. Like it's definitely like when you're entering a film and a movie by him, because it's so specific to his vision and his aesthetic.
Yeah, very true. And one of his other Christmas movies is one of my favorite, and that's A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, the claymation, and it's just a huge pop culture icon now. I mean, you look everywhere and you'll see it, from like Disneyland to any souvenir shop anywhere will have some sort of Jack Skellington or Sally doll, and it crosses the line between what you just said, beautiful and nightmarish, and merges them, because you have this Halloween town creatures and monsters that want to aspire to be more than just that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it so great, and why it's one of my favorites, because he doesn't want to be just pigeonholed and typecast as the king of Halloween. Mm-hmm. And he wants to learn more, and he branches out as he discovers Christmas and what it is. He embraces it, and then it helps him realize that yes, there is more out there to do, but it's also good to embrace who you are, and that just makes him realize that that's what he does best, and it helps him boost his I guess revitalizes himself. So it's also a Tim Burton movie, and it is fantastic. It's one of my favorite.
Yeah, as you were saying that, it reminded me of this really cool Christmas tree that I saw on Instagram, and it was, I think, a take on the Ghost of Christmas Future. So it was like the top of the tree was a skull, and they had like, I don't know what you would call it, but like a see-through like material, like sort of going down the tree with these candles. So it like lit up, making it almost look like a ghost body. And then it had skeleton hands. And I thought, oh my God, it was so cool, because it was like, it obviously had harkened to like the Christmas Carol with like the Ghost of Christmas Future. And I think that there's something interesting about the relationship of like, be a good person, be careful of like your karma and like how you have been the rest of the year and how it's going to impact your future. That is that scariness is kind of, I don't know, like it's a cool marriage of like hopefulness, but fear of the past or the future because you're a
Right.
bad person and like be a good person. And like, I don't know, I just really, it appeals to me and I really like it. Uh,
Well, speaking of Christmas Carol, since you mentioned that, is there
mhm.
a version of Christmas Carol that you like more than any other?
Scrooged with Bill
Yeah.
Murray. I think that I do like the Disney version that they did with Jim Carrey. I thought that that was amazing because of the animation, and
Interesting.
Jim
Okay.
Carrey is like really a great
I
actor.
can't stay awake watching that movie.
Really,
Yeah.
it's
I've
I don't
tried.
know. It's really. I mean, I think it's because my family is like really into Christmas and I am not, and so like that's the compromise. Is like watching the Jim Carrey one is like
I mean,
visually I like it,
yes,
but it's
exactly.
not like the old Charles Dickens like with the old actors in black and white.
Hmm.
But Scrooge is what I like about it is that it's obviously a modern take. It's I forget his name. I think it's what Charles Cross or something like that,
Yeah,
or
Charles or
Xavier
Xavier Cross. Yeah.
something Cross because he's like, oh, you know what a cross is? You get nailed to. I don't know whatever his quote is, and he's like he's modern.
Frank
It's
Cross.
funny, yeah, and. The characters are really cool, like the ghost of Christmas past, present, and
Hmm.
future.
Hmm.
The sarcastic Bill Murray humor is perfect. Um, I don't know. It's my favorite one because it's really cool and funny and hip. Um,
Oh,
it's
I'm
just
right there with
really
you. Yeah.
yeah
It's my favorite version of it. I mean, Bill Murray's at his peak performance right there
yeah
because it brings all the elements of what makes Bill Murray so great: the
mhm,
sarcasm, the wit, and everything. And I think the great Carol Kane as the Ghost of Christmas Present is just
yeah.
the best. She's
It's so odd
hilarious.
and
Yeah,
quirky and funny.
exactly. Just
Yeah
knocking him senseless. It's just so wonderful. And I
yeah
watch that. That's if any movie I try to watch every year, it's Scrooge at least once
yeah.
during the holiday season.
The one thing about that movie Scrooge that it doesn't bother me. It just makes me wonder is Bobcat Goldthwait. I still to this day don't understand if he talked like that because that was his shtick. If that's like his speech impediment, because I think he like doesn't talk like that anymore, right?
I I don't know. I know he made some movies later on, but he directed a few. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it always
Good
tripped
question.
me out to hear him talk because I was like, is that fake? Is that his real voice? Like, why does he talk like that? So it kind of bothers me every time I see it because I'm like, are you putting on like it's so odd.
Right,
Like,
because if he's not himself in the movie, right? So do you think he wouldn't have to act like that shtick or whatever? Maybe that is
yeah,
just the way he talks. I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. He's an interesting character though, because I think he at one point became really good friends with Kurt Cobain and like maybe even dabbled in
Mm.
heroin too, and then got really dark and then after Kurt committed suicide, then like he kind of did a 180 and pivoted into like being having a better life or whatever. But he always I don't know. That's the one part of Scrooge that I'm like he's a weirdo.
He is.
Yeah.
He really is. But it's you always feel bad for him. At least I do in the movie. But yeah,
Well,
he gets
he
his
gets his
comeuppance at the
yeah
end. Yeah.
yeah he gets
So.
he gets what he deserves, I guess, or wants.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
the one I feel sorry for is the little homeless guy that dies in like the
Oh
sewer.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That one's so sad.
That is. Why didn't you just stay there? Yeah,
Yeah,
he just freezes to death.
yeah.
Oh man.
So what's your pick for your favorite holiday movie?
Well, I wrote down a few. I mean, I do like some of the traditional ones. Like last year, for the first time, I watched It's a Wonderful Life for the very first time, and that was
Yeah,
I saw the whole thing. I mean, I'd seen bits and pieces of it, but it was really good. And James Stewart's one of my favorite actors. I always enjoyed his work. So to watch that in its entirety was I appreciated the filmmaking of it. I think sometimes that style of filmmaking, the
hmm
epic version of it, it gets lost sometimes now because I don't want to say we're heavily action dominated in this current filmmaking age, but we kind of are.
yeah,
So to have the dialogue based and the story based really move the movie along, it was kind of refreshing to see for me,
yeah,
especially in a Christmas movie because don't get to watch them that often. I guess you could watch them throughout the year, but why? I mean, I don't pop in, what's another mirror, like you said, Miracle on 34th Street or the Santa Claus in the middle of July or June.
Yeah.
But so that's one that I really appreciate is It's a Wonderful Life. But I would say also, I like a few of the college humor movies, which is like Office Christmas Party and The Night Before. Those two movies to me are just hilarious. They're in the realm of like American Pie, just that, dark humor, not even dark humor, late night humor, I think is a better way of describing it. And it's just hilarious. Like The Night Before with Seth Rogen, Anthony Mackie, and is it Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I think?
Yep.
And it's just how they interact with one another when they're trying to, relive their Christmas tradition, I guess. And it's just so fun. I enjoy that movie a lot.
Yeah, I love the Seth Rogen's wife in the movie that she like gives him drugs because I think when she's pregnant and she's like, go have fun, like go
one night,
do this, and I'm like, what a interesting way to support your husband.
Very true.
That
actress is very good. I can't even think of her name. Jillian Bell, I think is her name. She's great.
Yeah, which is kind of cool to see, like the Jewish perspective in a holiday movie, because I feel like we don't. I can't think of any Jewish traditional movies that are like a hit that are like,
it's true.
Hey, let's all watch, Jewish film X this year. Like, it's not.
It's funny you say that because I was looking up earlier today, what sort of like Hanukkah or Jewish holiday movies are there? And none that I recognize. I mean, Adam Sandler did 8 Crazy Nights, which is an animated feature, which I actually have never seen. But other than that, I can't think of any other movie. I really can't.
Yeah.
So,
I guess maybe it hasn't been a goal of Jewish people to make Hanukkah movies the way Christmas movies are. It's not like a thing. They should. I mean, why not? I think that it would be, I don't know, maybe it's too solemn for them. I don't know. Like,
I mean, the holiday itself, Hanukkah, is really revolves around how like the Jews were forced into the temple from the soldiers and how they had enough oil for one night that lasted a miraculously 8 nights, right? And how they were able to survive off of that while the soldiers ran rampart around and whatnot until they finally were beaten back. But it's not really a traditional religious holiday, because that's more like Rosh Hashanah and in September that's like the main high holy days, I guess. But so it's just something that I feel that as my mom always said, it's just something that we have to have during Christmas time so that we can also celebrate along with. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, Daddy's mom.
Yeah, right. But we celebrated both growing up, so it didn't really matter to me.
Yeah. Talking about Hanukkah and Jewish people, I forgot to mention to this when we were kind of debriefing earlier. So I don't know, I mentioned to you that they're going to make a like Lethal Weapon 5 and Mel Gibson is going to direct it supposedly. Well, this actor, I forget his first name, but his last name is Molina, not Molina, like in a Spanish name, but like Polish Molina. He wrote an op-ed piece saying, like, when are we going to like cancel Mel Gibson? Like he's not even like anti-Semitic. He's like, I forgot the word that he used, but it was like super anti-Jewish. Like he's like, his intentions are known. Like we don't have to guess. We don't like it's not a secret. And I agree with him. Like I feel like, I don't know. We've gotten to the point in society where people are like, well, you just have to respect people's different opinions. But there are certain things when it comes to respecting humanity that it isn't an opinion for you to think that Jewish people suck. Like, that's not like debatable. It's not up for debate. It's not an argument. And I was reading this article, and Winona Ryder mentioned a story that she met Mel Gibson, years back, and he said something really horrible to her. Basically, I'm not going to say what he said, but he said something very offensive in a way to find out if she was Jewish.
Oh, wow.
And he denies having said it. He says that he's like a victim of his celebrity in the sense that like he's not allowed to like say bad things. He's not allowed to have like a mental breakdown. And they caught him, and all his transgressions have been like at bad moments in his life, but like he's just a human, like, which is not an apology really. It's just saying
No.
like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so having heard the comment that he said to Winona Ryder and believing Winona Ryder because she's not a piece of shit like he is, I am all aboard like boycotting Lethal Weapon. Like, fuck him. Like first of all, I think I mentioned on the podcast that he looks like hot trash. Like he looks like he's 5,000 years old. I don't know what happened to him. Like the hate is seeping through his pores and is like making him rot, but he looks horrible. So like, we don't need Lethal Weapon 5, 6, whatever it is. Like, let's make another buddy cop film with like new actors that are like fun and entertaining. We already got the cool Mad Max that we need, like with Charlize Theron and what's the other actor that's in it?
Tom Hardy.
Like Tom Hardy. So like, we don't need Mel Gibson. So like, thank you, but we'll pass.
Exactly.
That's how like I feel at this point is like, okay, yeah, like that's a great offering. We're going to decline it and we're going to not watch the movie. You're going to lose money. And go back to Australia and the outback or whatever and enjoy your anti-Semitic life and fuck off. Like if we're done. Like, and that's what I think, like, why does cancel culture have such a bad rap? Like some people deserve to be canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when they're not apologetic, they're double down in their anti-human perspective, and whether it be racism, misogyny, homophobia, whatever. And I'm not going to respect that. Like, it's not. There are certain things, that you can argue, like economic, conservative, perspectives. Like, okay, I can see why you're Republican because you are, economically conservative. I still think that that's stupid because anyway, but when it comes to human rights, we've surpassed that civil rights moment where we're making a case for people being human. We're all human beings and we're all entitled to respect and not to be treated like trash. And, and I don't know. It's horrible that he is even having studios greenlight him as a director and as a star. He needs to retire.
That's true. So studios that do that are complicit with him. Yeah, that's not even retire. That's like a fancy way of sending him off. He just needs to go away.
Yeah, like he's done. Like you're just done. And and what's weird is that we hold other people accountable for such weird shit that, if let's say you're in real life, like a kid that makes a mistake in high school, like it fucks up their high school, their ability to get into college, and then it like trickles down. But like grown ass adult people that are like, should know better, get so many ways out of a situation and not held accountable that I don't get. Like I think
you should change that to a subset of the grown people. It's not all grown people.
Like, I'm not afraid to say it. White people.
There you go.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. So anyway, that just, that it really irked me. And I happen to support, I think I'm not sure if there's a petition or what's going on. But I'm all aboard that. So
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I've always had this weird thought about petitions and like change.org and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like, does it really matter? Does any of that really matter? I mean, or is it just like something that you can make yourself feel good about? Because I signed that petition to do that. Did it? I mean, does that have any real life effect?
Yeah. I think there's within Hollywood, like if we're keeping, on topic with like films and shows. I know there've been a couple of shows that they've canceled and brought back. I think like Futurama, the fans brought it back.
Oh,
One
okay.
Day at a Time, like the new like Latino version. Um, I think even Family Guy might have been canceled and brought back because of people's popularity. So I think there are times, especially when a show gets canceled and another studio sees how popular it is, and they're like, we can make money off of them if we bring it to CBS. And then, or like TBS, or like, I think like Conan O'Brien, like he didn't get the Tonight
Yeah.
Show gig,
Yeah.
and then he
Well,
got
he was
his
on
gig.
it for 6 months and they got rid of him. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that when it comes to people getting opportunity to buy the product, yes. But when it comes to like canceling them for like from them not making the movie, I honestly don't think it works. I think that you have to talk with their dollars and just not go see the movie.
Yes, I
And then
agree.
they learn their lesson and they're like, okay, we won't, because it's all about money. And they think, okay,
Mhm.
well, he's an icon, he is, people like him apparently, or did. So let's give it a shot. Like it's a gamble. It's like a financial gamble. They're
Well,
maybe even the controversy will make people go see it.
exactly.
And
People are already
so,
talking about him, which is important to the studios because there's the
mhm.
attention and the notoriety, and there is no such thing as bad press, right? Or
I don't know. So speaking of petitions and this, here's another one that's kind of funny. There's a petition that has like I think like 18,000, if not more, by this time, for reporters to stop interviewing Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith because they're so open with their life that people are tired about hearing the intimate details of their life.
okay.
And I thought it was hilarious because we've known that like Jada Pinkett like cheated on Will Smith, that they've had an open marriage, that and this one was really interesting. This quote, that after Will Smith's girlfriend cheated on him, he went on like a sex binge to the point that it was making him gag and throw up. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like,
What
does that
does
mean like
that
you're
mean?
literally in the act of intercourse and you're throwing up because you're exhausted, or the behavior is
I need
making
a
you sick?
timeout.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know what that
Timeout.
means. Like, that's weird.
I
Wild
had not
stuff.
heard about that. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
And then another one is like they're, because Jada has that red table talk with her daughter and
Hmm.
like guests, and they admitted to like wanting to get Brazilian butt lifts. And it's like, we know too much about your family. Like, and I appreciate it because I do like them. I think Will Smith is a very talented actor. I've not necessarily been a huge fan of Jada Pinkett Smith's work. I like her as like a person, as like the talking
Hmm.
head
Hmm.
on Red Table Talk, and I think that you do talk about some important things. But it's interesting because I think like they got to that point where it's like, oh, it's interesting. It's like they're sharing, and then it was like, oh shit, they shared too much. Like it went to a place where like we don't need to know your sex life, we don't need to know your openness. Like it's cool to have some mystery to you celebrities. So I don't know, we'll see if that works, if the petition works and news
That's funny.
organizations stop asking him questions. I doubt it because he just came out with his new book.
Right,
So
right.
I think that there's more, unfortunately, that we're going to learn about them.
It's
But it's
hilarious.
it's interesting, right? Like I don't
That's
think I would, if I ever made it to that level of success, that I'd want to be pulling my skeletons out of the closet and sharing them with everyone.
well, if you are sharing it and you're open about it, they're not really skeletons anymore, right? Because they're
Well,
on
the
full
skeleton being like
display.
something that is, yeah. So you pull them out of the closet. I think that's the saying.
Okay.
Like you're pulling,
I gotcha. Okay. It's like when I think of that, I think of like someone trying to hide it, right?
yeah. Like so like,
But they're not
well,
trying to hide
the
anything.
skeleton in your closet is like the bad thing, like the thing that should be hidden, and they're removing the skeleton from their closet because they're like unleashing that secret.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
don't don't contradict me, Danny.
Well, speaking of skeletons in closets and scary stuff like that,
Yeah,
just getting back to the topic of the scary of holiday movies, the movie Krampus for me is one up there. I saw it a couple years ago for the first time, and it's just with Adam Scott and his family and how their
yeah.
kid writes a letter about how he hates Christmas, hates his family, whatever. And then Krampus comes, who's this, is it Norwegian folklore, I think, somewhere in
I
the
think German.
Okay. And it's just, it's crazy. And how it's just very dark. And, at the ending, it leaves it up to the viewer whether or not how they end up, whether or not they're in the dream cycle or just dead or whatever. But it's a good movie. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I appreciate the level to which the Germans scared the shit out of their kids. Like, if you're bad, this demon is going to steal you, beat you, take you away. Like, that's like, it's very similar to Latino culture. Like, if we're going to scare our kids into doing good, we're going to fucking scare them. Like,
we're going all out.
Traumatize them, make them scared for the rest of their lives. None of this, like, you'll get a lump of coal. Like that, okay, give me a lump of coal. I don't care. No, Krampus is going to rip you apart and kill you. And so I appreciate that. I like scaring children into being good kids because kids are little assholes sometimes. Toni Collette is in that movie, and I'm a big fan of hers. I think she's an amazing actress. Pretty much everything she does, I think, is spectacular. The characters that she does in each of her films are almost like completely different. She's like very much like a Meryl Streep and like a chameleon. Like her characters are not one note. Like they're completely unrelated to each other. Just very, and I mean, it's just, she's a great, she's actually a good Australian actor. So I accept the Toni Collettes of the world and I rebuke the Mel Gibson Australians of the world and the Russell Crowe. Mel Gibson, Russell Crowe, you guys can stay in Australia. We'll take the Toni Collette, the Kylie Minogues of the world. And is it just, maybe it's just the guys that are assholes. There's also
Jackman's pretty good.
Hugh Jackman, but Hugh Jackman is like, I think borderline almost gay in his sensibilities. Like he's very musical theater. He likes to dance. He's like an honorary gay man basically. and so like he can come with Kylie Minogue, with Toni Collette, and then Thor, what's his name?
Chris Hemsworth,
yeah.
Can he bring his brother too?
Yeah, we'll take the Hemsworth brothers, and just to be fair, we'll give them a Chris Pratt. Even though he's not Australian, they can have Chris Pratt.
We'll exchange one Chris for the other.
Yeah. We'll give them two Hemsworth for one Pratt. I think that's a fair.
Who's getting the better of that deal, though? I guess
we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it's because they're like a bunch of convicts. Like their ancestry was, convicts, and maybe that's why they're assholes. I don't know. I'm joking because I actually love Australian people. I think they're like some of the coolest people. They're always like super funny and like, I don't know, charismatic or whatever, but not Mel Gibson and Russell Crowe.
There you go.
Yeah. I don't know. That's my beef with them. The other one is Christian Bale. He's not Australian, but I think he's English, and he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't be inviting him onto this podcast as much as he would want to be part of it. I'm sorry, he's not coming on.
What Gabe doesn't know is that I've already booked him for next week.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, I'm sure his agent is just dying to get him on.
His agent calls him up, "Hey, Christian, you got this podcast next week."
Yeah. One of the guys hates you.
Go change his mind about you.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Are there any other anti-holiday movies that you enjoy?
Gremlins, I think it's not anti-holidays, but it's again that marriage of spooky horror with, I don't know, maybe it's just because then it makes you appreciate what you have and appreciate your family if there's like a sense of danger that you could lose it all. I actually was just thinking, I don't know why, but I'm going back to Tucson for Christmas, and I had, when I was a kid, the Gizmo like Mogwai doll. It's not an action figure, I guess, stuffed animal. And I was like, oh, that was a really cool picture. Like, 'cause it was like my birthday, and I had it in like my birthday cake. And I was like, I wonder if I still have that picture. I'm gonna post it on social media just because it's like so of that time, like the early 80s or whatever. And I loved that movie. Like I loved the Gremlins, the Mogwai creatures, the spookiness, that part where the mom like is like in the house and the
Oh
record
yeah,
player goes on
that's
and it's like, do you hear what I hear? And then she kills the gremlin in the microwave.
her fight scene with the gremlins in the kitchen is like one of my favorite parts of that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so good. I even like the Gremlins too, where they're in New York. I think that one's great too. Uh, I just love it. I love like the creatures. I'm fans of like creature feature movies like
Mhm.
with Gremlins and stuff like that. It's kind of like a throwback to like those old Hollywood movies with like the Frankenstein and the Mummy and all of that stuff. So that would be my other pick. It's not
Nice.
really a Christmassy feel good movie. Well, I mean, I guess in a sense it's a feel good because it has a happy ending. But yeah, I like
There
it.
you go. Happy endings.
But
That's what Christmas movies are all about, right?
right, I guess,
Or
yeah,
holiday movies. I mean,
yeah. What about you? Any other ones?
well, I mean, I have a few other ones, but nothing really that's like going to be like, wow. I did watch the most recent one I watched is a new one on Netflix called Love Hard. And I think the curious thing about that is that it stars Jimmy O Yang, the comedian, Asian American comedian. Is he Asian American? I know he's Chinese, and he's like the main actor in this rom com, which I thought was interesting because you don't typically see that in a Christmas rom com, which I thought was pretty cool. But the whole premise of it is that he catfishes the other star, Nina Dobrev, in the movie into thinking he looks like someone else. So she flies across the country to go meet him and finds out who he really is. So it's pretty funny. I mean, it just blew my mind when I realized where they got the title from because her favorite movie is Die Hard. Her favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard. His favorite Christmas movie is Love Actually. So then I was like, oh, Love Hard. Duh. So
Okay.
it was
I
silly.
thought
It
it
was
was
fun.
like you were watching like an adult film or something. I don't know. I'm like, Danny, that's
Love
not a
Hard.
holiday movie.
Yes.
It
Love
might be a
Hard.
feel good movie. But speaking of Love Actually, I think that's probably one of my favorite films that fits within the stereotypical genre of Christmas feel good movies.
Okay.
Just because I think that it's English, and I love anything pretty much English except Christian Bale, and I'm not going to let that go. And the cast is amazing, and like I really like ensemble movies where there's like 500 characters and they all like interconnect.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's done well,
Hmm.
and that one I think is done really well, and it's sort of I don't know, it's romantic, it's funny. It has like a lot of different types of love and Christmas, I guess, stories, if you will. So I would, if I had to watch like a traditional holiday movie, that would probably be the one. Love
But
Actually.
but the weird thing is, I think the director or someone has gone on record saying that Love Actually is not a Christmas movie. So it falls into that realm of where it's not really a Christmas movie, but it's set during Christmas time.
Well, I mean, I guess like, well, then what's a Christmas movie? Like what, like Santa Claus appears or Jesus or something like.
I get,
I
yeah,
think
that's true. What is the definition of a Christmas movie? Right,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, like if it happens in Christmas, and if it's December, I think that it's a Christmas movie.
There you go.
If someone in the film says "Merry Christmas," it's a Christmas movie. If someone's
That
wrapping a
works for me.
present,
I agree with that. If someone mentions that, yeah, I would
yeah.
say yeah.
If a goose is about to be eaten, I don't know. If there's a Christmas tree in one of the scenes, if it's snowing, yeah, it's a Christmas
If it's
movie.
snowing, it's a Christmas movie. Yes,
Yeah.
I do enjoy that movie. I mean, I enjoy the Andrew Lincoln in there. You know, the from Walking Dead fame. He's one of the actors in there. Colin Firth, I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Hugh Grant. Goodness, it is such a huge ensemble cast, isn't it?
Yeah. Isn't Emma? Oh God, what's her name?
Emma Thompson's in there.
Emma Thompson. I always want to call her Emma Watson.
Keira
She's
Knightley is in there.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. There's a lot of people.
Ton people.
Oh, who
So
played
good. It's such a good.
Bilbo Baggins is in there too. The gentleman who plays Bilbo Baggins is in there.
The older man.
Yeah. Oh, what's his name? He's like the porn star in the movie.
I don't remember that.
Where he meets his love interest on set for the first time.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Martin Freeman, I think, is his name.
I forgot. I completely forgot about that. Speaking of Bilbo Baggins, I just found out. Sean Astin from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Rudy and all
Samwise
that.
Gamgee.
Yeah, did you know that his mom is Patty Duke,
Yeah.
like the famous actress?
Mhm.
I didn't know that. That's
And John
crazy
Astin
to
is his
me.
father. Yeah, famous actor too.
Yeah, that's really. And then Mackenzie Astin is his brother from like Facts of Life.
Oh, okay.
That like he's not really been in a lot, but
No, you're like
uh,
the black sheep of the acting family.
well, I think he was in. What else was he in? I want to say. I don't know. I think he was in a movie that I just saw with Juliette Lewis and what's the old actress that Jack Nicholson's in it. Um, God, the redhead actress. She had red hair when she was young, short hair. She was known for like being a dancer, and then it's like she believes in aliens and like reincarnation. She's like a super famous old actress. Like
Oh,
Warren Beatty is her brother.
yeah, yeah. I know who you're talking about now. I can't think of her name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Like the oh goodness,
she's
yeah.
Shirley MacLaine. Shirley
There you
MacLaine
go.
was in it. Yeah,
Yes.
so he's in that movie. It's called I can't think of the movie, but it's a sequel to another movie I can't think of. It's like a super sappy, like emotionally, like everything's sad and dying. The first one, the mom dies of cancer, Shirley MacLaine's daughter, and then the second one, it's like the kids, and Juliette Lewis plays like the out of control teenage granddaughter, and anyway, Sean Astin or Mackenzie Astin, whatever his name is in that movie. He plays one of the brothers.
Oh, okay.
But I just watched that the other day. It's like one of those movies that I can watch, but it's like so cheesy and so melodramatic, but it's like fun to watch. Like
Uh-huh.
it's like there was another movie with Natalie Portman where she has a kid in Walmart. Do you remember that movie?
Yes,
And
where
she
the heart
names
is.
where the heart is, and she
Yeah,
names the kid like
I like that movie.
Americus or something like.
Yeah,
But
Americans.
it's
Yeah,
so over dramatic and melodramatic,
yeah, it is.
like and like kind of cheesy, and I don't know, but you can. I mean, they're good movies, but it's just like kind of cheesy, but
Yeah,
good in a way.
it's like you said, the movie you just have on in the background that you won't maybe seek it out to put it on, but if it's on, you'll watch
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Like someone always dies. It's kind of sad, but then it's hopeful. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, that's that kind of movie. I don't know why I felt like Patty Duke being the mother of Sean Astin was such a revelation, but when I found out, I was like, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, for some reason, it seems like she's way too old to have a son. Either he's much older than I originally thought, or she's younger, but like it doesn't seem like their ages match up. Like, because in my head, she's like from like the 40s and 50s,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like our age. So
Yeah,
I
he
don't
is.
know. I feel like maybe she's much younger than I thought. I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I remember growing up and like throughout high school and stuff, people always said I look like Sean Astin. I never
Yeah.
saw it myself, but they always used to call me Rudy just because of that. Because he played
I don't see
Rudiger.
it, but
I don't see it either. But
yeah, stupid
anywho.
Chula Vista. You went to school in Chula Vista, right?
Yes, I was the Hispanic Rudy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
The Jewish Hispanic.
Jewish Hispanic
I
Rudy.
almost called him Judy. If I would have gone to school with you, that's what I would have called you. Judy.
Thanks. Okay. I know what my nickname is now from now on from you. Yeah, thanks.
Good old high school.
Oh, yes. Where we all peak too soon.
Yeah. Well, not all of us. I think that the nerds definitely did not. And
Yeah,
I'm
true.
one of those. So I've yet to peak.
It's still a long climb up, damn it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
If
Maybe
I
in
make
my
it there,
60s.
we'll see. There you go.
Anyway,
Well, yeah, that's funny.
yeah,
Hopefully one day I'll reach that mountaintop. I'll look
yeah.
back and say, wow. And then I'll jump off. Why not?
Sure. And on that suicidal note,
Yeah, there you go. On that optimistic, hopeful holiday, tidbit there, we will bid you all adieu.
yeah. Who doesn't like a holiday suicide? Oh boy. I
think
really hope our sense of humor connects with our audience.
I think it does. I mean, they keep
Yeah.
coming back and watching, and we do appreciate that, by the way, everyone, especially when you send in your comments on our YouTube
Yeah.
videos, and we do see them, and we do appreciate that. I mean, we just got one in today from a lady saying that she watched our interview with Jose Sardui, and she appreciated our insightful questions. So I think that was really cool. So
Yeah.
thank you for the comments. Thank you for the support. Be sure to share it with all your friends, and yeah, make us want to do more of these.
Yeah. I follow Jose now on Instagram, and he was doing a corporate gig. And I sort of made a joke because he was like, yeah, I'm getting ready to prepare for, like, I don't remember the name of the company, but let's say it was like, I don't know, the Samson Printing Company party. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, those Samson Printing Company parties are really known to get really crazy. Be careful. It was like such a corporate sounding name, like the most boring sounding, like, I don't even know what the company does, but it was just like, I'm sure that's a sweet gig though, because they
Oh
probably pay
yeah.
him
Oh
a pretty
yeah.
penny. I remember one year Wells Fargo had no, it wasn't Howie Mandel. It was Kevin Nealon from
Oh
SNL.
wow.
He hosted it was like this big party that they like had all of Arizona go to, and it was Kevin Neely and some band that they hired to play. But I was like, wow, they hired a C-list SNL cast member. That's really cool. I mean, because like I would have hoped it would have been Phil Hartman. That was my favorite cast member of that season,
On
but
C list.
but Kevin Nealon was good. He was
Yeah, he
sufficient.
was good. Wasn't his massive head wound hairy? Was that him or was that Dana Carvey?
I don't even. I know he did Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
He was known for that. And he was pretty funny. I kid Kevin Nealon, but he actually did a really good job, because it's like, how are you going to make a corporate gig like that fun? But he was pretty funny. It was a fun event. So I'm sure Jose was able to do the same at his gig.
Yeah, I mean that's why I like the Office Christmas Party. It kind of has that feel to it. It's like an office environment that they just let loose one year. And T.J. Miller stars in that movie, and T.J. Miller's underrated as a comedian. I think he's just hilarious to me. So
I feel like he's canceled right now.
is he?
I think so. Like,
It's
I
hard
haven't
to
seen
keep
him.
track of who's canceled.
I know. I have a notebook.
The canceled notebook.
Yeah, it's like my burn book. But whenever I am like about to say something about someone, I cross reference my canceled
Interesting, man.
notebook just
Do
to
I
make
have to
sure.
start that up?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but I mentioned that because I haven't seen him in anything in a while.
Well, he's been touring a lot. I know that for
And I
his
want to.
comedy.
Actually, I think that I think he was canceled for something like, I don't know. I don't want to say, because maybe it's not true, but there's a couple comedians that I think that have been in trouble with regard to like sexual harassment, sexual
Mm.
misdoings. The one famously that was pulled out of that zombie movie and replaced with Tig Notaro.
Yes, you're right about that. Yeah.
And then C.K. Lewis, and I want to say T.J. Miller, because he was like on such a high with like Deadpool, and I think he was in
Ready Player One. It's the last movie I think he was in.
and then Big Hero 6, he was in that
Yeah, that's
too.
right. Yeah.
So he was doing pretty good, and then I don't know, choices he made.
Some transphobic email allegations, sexual assault allegations,
Yeah,
Uber assault incident. Wow.
yeah. And he's Daddy's favorite comedian. So why do you hate women, Danny?
Well, let me explain why.
So why aren't you an ally to women?
Because
I think that would be like a really funny bit, like to have on like SNL, like someone like really well intentioned, but like every time they like try to do or say something, it's like, oh no, like you can't say that. That's and it's just their lack of awareness or like their ignorance to like what the latest, woke thing is.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, well, not in my defense, because I guess as someone who is trying to profuse knowledge in pop culture
Yeah.
lexicons, I should know who is, I should or shouldn't speak about, I guess, but it's hard to keep track of everyone. I don't know. It's kind of
It
hard.
is
I
hard
mean,
to keep track of all the wrongdoings of people or
because
good
everyone does
doings.
something wrong every day. So it's like, okay, at
Yeah.
what degree is it like the Bill Cosby level of
Mhm.
assault, or is it, I mean, assault is assault. I'm not making joke of that. I mean, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be done and it shouldn't be tolerated at any level. But
There's different levels, so I think that's a fair statement to make. Like, there's, I mean, I can't think of like the good assault,
no, there isn't. There isn't
but
one
like,
single good
yeah,
assault.
there isn't. But I mean, I think of like Al Franken, where
Yeah.
I mean, it's no excuse or whatever, but like you can't really compare that to like Bill Cosby drugging and raping women.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is like true evil, and then there's like, I don't even want to say stupid men, but like people
But it
that make
is.
stupid mistakes that are
Mm-hmm.
like really stupid and they deserve to be punished, but it's like, oh, that was really stupid versus like, oh, you're a fucking piece of shit, you're evil.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I know
and
what you
Bill
mean.
Cosby falls within that line. But yeah, I don't know. I think that there's the other, we haven't talked about it, I don't think, but Dave Chappelle is sort of famous now for being
Mm-hmm.
like saying
Well,
he's canceled, but like he gets paid like $20 million for like a Netflix special. So I'm like, cancel me, please. Like, I would love to be canceled and make
I'll
that
take
much
a
money.
$20 million cancel check. Yeah.
Right. And the thing that because I haven't sat down and watched David Chappelle special. The thing is that like I've never been a fan of his. I've never seen anything that Dave Chappelle has done where I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my God, I'm like laughing. And I know that not all comedies is like laugh out loud. Some is like observational humor, or some is like
Mm-hmm.
commentary, and you're like, huh. Like I think his, for me, falls in that line of like, like, okay, like it's not really funny. Like even that like James, what was it? Rick James bit where he's like, I'm Rick James, bitch. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like, nah, like it's kind of funny, but it's like not really that funny. And so like I'm not rushing to see his new special lately, but the fact that I did hear a like kind of like a summary of one of his jokes, and it's like he's talking about talking to this girl, and then like he's about to like hook up with her, but then the boyfriend comes, but it's not really the boyfriend, it's a butch lesbian, and like he still wants to get with the girl, so he's like gonna punch the lesbian in the face. And it's like, it's such a weird, like, you're sitting in your probably really nice house with all your millions of dollars, and you're making the choice of like, okay, what's the subject matter of my humor? What's going to be the
Yeah.
punchline?
Yeah. I see what you
Me
mean.
punching a lesbian in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, really? And I know that one of the things that's kind of interesting from him is that he left his show because he felt like his audience was like laughing at him and not with him with like all of the racial humor. And I feel like he's doing that again, but instead of directing it towards his own culture, that being like African American culture, now he's like pointing his audience towards like the anti-trans, like anti-gay crowd. And so like maybe it makes him feel better that they're not laughing at black people, that they're laughing at gay people, but like it's still the shitty audience that's like laughing at stuff that's like really not funny.
Mm-hmm.
um and so I don't know, it's interesting. It's interesting in the sense like I'm going to see where it goes with him, because being notorious is different than being funny and
Yeah, that's
having like a
true.
lasting impact. And I think like he's getting into like the notorious kind of realm. But like you don't hear his jokes repeated. Like there isn't really like what's funny that he says now.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree.
Like
I mean,
there's
I
not.
will say I did watch that special. I don't
Yeah.
think I laughed that much. I think I might have turned it off halfway through.
Hmm.
And it was just like, I don't see the big deal of it anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, like you said with the Rick James bit, I thought that was, for me, that was funny.
Yeah.
It was. I laughed a lot about that because I was just thinking of the absurdity of it all,
Hmm.
how over the top it was, and how it may or may not have been a true story. Because I mean, they did interview Rick James in there, so
Hmm.
but he couldn't remember it because cocaine's a hell of a drug. But
Yeah.
so it's like, but now it's like I can't remember any of his funny jokes that he was told because to me they weren't funny anymore. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just either I've matured in my appreciation of comedy and his storytelling style does no longer impact me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it does impact those who are, who he said his audience has really,
Hmm.
targeted in on. So it does have a negative impact on them.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's when you have comedians that want to push the boundaries of comedy, it's like a dangerous game because you're making light of certain situations, but it's like at the same time, you have to be careful of the audience you're attracting
Mm-hmm.
because before you know it, you could have the wrong audience.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you could have the audience that maybe you don't want to be the mascot for or the leader for. And I think he's going to need to reevaluate that soon because it seems as if he has a conscience because it famously like almost made him have a breakdown
Yeah,
when
true.
he realized that like the people that were laughing at his jokes were not cool people. And I think that he's going to eventually, hopefully, come to terms with that again, that like maybe don't project your humor all at one thing.
Right.
Like, and I think that there is, there's some comedians that are like, why make fun of everyone? And I think that I kind of appreciate that because when you're laughing at everyone, you're not focusing all of the attention on one group. You're kind of like everyone has something that we can kind of laugh about. Like don't take yourself too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like every group like can kind of, oh yeah, that's kind of, it's funny. It may not be totally wholly true, but we can laugh about that. And we know it's not mean spirited because that comedian's doing it to everyone. Like it's not just, the disenfranchised group that they're wanting to attack. But someone like Sarah Silverman, I think, is kind of like within that vein, Lisa Lampanelli. But a lot of those comedians have sort of pivoted and realized that route isn't the best route in this day and age, that like it was doing more harm than it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like because I'm a big fan of, I'm a big fan of Joan Rivers, and she really pushed boundaries on like what's acceptable, like making fun of the Holocaust or making jokes about a lot of different groups. And I did like her humor, but I wonder if she would have been able to make it today
Mm.
with like the people's sensibilities. And I think that the way people interpret it is that people don't have a sense of humor nowadays. But I think that it's more that people have the power to use their own voice, and that people who are in those marginalized groups are like, we're tired of being the butt of your joke.
Yeah, that's true.
And so anyway, so that, yeah. So
what about let me ask, what about the comedian, one of my favorite comedians, Bill Burr? Where does he rank on your
I
scale?
don't think I've really even watched him.
Okay.
Is he like the white guy that's like kind of like bald?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Like it's weird because there are certain comedians that I just kind of stay away from because I'm like, they're probably going to have homophobic jokes or they might have racist jokes. Typically, it's like the sarcastic, smart ass like white guy comedians. Like I recently saw a clip of I can't even think of his name. He used to be a cast member on SNL, but he was like not really a main guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's I think he's Irish American, but he had this whole bit about COVID and people wanting attention for like being woke and like how it sounds stupid and all that. And I was just like, I don't know, like it wasn't funny. I got what he was saying, like that people who take things too seriously like
Mm-hmm.
are doing more harm than they're doing good. But like make it funny. Make me laugh about it.
Yeah.
Like the pill is going to be easier to swallow if it's funny, if there's some sort of originality to your take on whatever topic it is. But if you're just rehashing something that like someone on Fox News could have said, it's not really comedy. It's just
Yeah, that's true.
an opinion. I don't know. I forget the guy's name, and I tweeted about someone, one of the people I follow sort of said something about it and like how it was like offensive, and I was just like, why don't you just ignore it? Like I've ignored his whole career because it's someone that I've never followed. God, I wish I could think of his name, but that's like the kind of impact he's had on the comedic landscape. You would know who he is if I were to show you him. He does like a wacky voice whenever he talks like a woman or I don't know. He's not funny. Anyway, I
Fair
don't know
enough.
Bill Burr, but I'm assuming that if you like him, he must be funny.
Well, I mean, he does have when some of his takes are like very cringy to me. It's like, ooh, can you
Yeah.
say that? So I don't know. I don't know if that's pushing the boundaries. Like you mentioned Joan Rivers. That's the only reason that he came to mind, because
Yeah.
he the way some of his comic bits are pushing that really on the edge there. So I don't know if it's like over the line or where's this line, for
Mhm.
comedians. I would hate to be a comedian right now. I really would. It's like, what can you say that is going to be funny? I mean, I know what you're thinking right now. It's like, yeah, I just don't make fun of people
Yeah.
but it's like, I like comedians who tell anecdotal stories. So like Gabriel Iglesias, he always talks about his own life and he brings it up, and it's stuff he doesn't come up with bits. It's just stuff that's happened to him.
Yeah.
So he's just retelling it. Yes, sure, it's embellished a little bit, but it's just stuff that's happened. And I think if I were to be a comedian, that's the way I would go. But I'd hate to like be walking on eggshells. And I think as a comedian, you can't be, because then you're going to be called out for that. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a concern, but there are a lot of comedians that I think don't take the easy shots.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are. Like it's like easier for like a bully to like find the person to pick on and make
Yeah. Very
the
true.
class
Mm-hmm.
laugh. But
Mm-hmm.
like it's like it takes a talent to like come up with something original to make the audience laugh
Yeah.
that isn't easy.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
I can't really think of anyone in particular right this minute of a comedian that I'm like, they're amazing. I'm trying to think. There there was this really funny comedian that I think is Chinese American, and she was making fun of the fact that like this white lady asked her if she was Michelle Kwan at Goodwill, and it was just like so absurd that like in this white lady's eyes, like, oh, if you're a young Asian, you're Michelle Kwan. Like, so like I think that there's things to make fun of in the world that is not necessarily going to attack
Mm-hmm.
a group, that you can still like, talk about your dog, talk about your spouse,
Yeah.
your job. Like there's lots of things. And I think like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Jerry Seinfeld, but which is really funny because he's like one of the most vocal about like, oh, it's so hard to tell comedy nowadays. But like
Yeah. Yeah.
his comedy isn't really offensive because he makes like jokes about like everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know why he's overly concerned with that, but he has built a career about not being like without being offensive or like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I can't really think of anyone else that's like super famous. It's a comedian, but like Jose, one of our guests on our show, like his comedy isn't offensive. He's
Right. And
not
he has
like
different
making,
levels of it. Yeah.
yeah.
You said Chinese American comedians, and I thought of, what was her name? That she did a couple specials on Netflix. Oh, she was pregnant at the time, and she was just
Aquafina, or
so.
not Aquafina.
Uh,
I know
Ali Wong.
Yeah, Ali Wong.
She is so hilarious. She is just, and it's a little I don't want to say raunchy, but it does have that sort of like, next level of it, and she's funny though.
Yeah, well, and I mean, think of she's on Big Mouth cast, and think of how Big Mouth is hilarious.
Yeah,
and like making fun of what everyone goes through like puberty and young teenage years, and yet and they're making fun of situations, but they're not making fun of women. They're not making fun of gay people. They're diverse and inclusive. Like they have a gay character, and they're able to get laughs. But it's not like laughing at him, like, he likes another kid or the guy that's bisexual. Like, they're still managed to have so many topics that are hilarious, like laugh out loud. And it is kind of edgy because it's like saying stuff that you're like, oh, like, especially when it comes to the hormone monsters, like they say some crazy shit, but it's not like offensive in the sense that it's like anti-Jewish. It's like just crazy. And so I don't know. That's a really good example, I think, of comedy that's edgy, that's funny, that isn't making fun of any marginalized groups, that's actually very diverse and inclusive in a way, and it's still funny and it's still super edgy and youthful and like young and fresh and hip and cool and like not boomer humor.
Yeah, Nick Kroll and his Andrew Goldberg, I think they're just hilarious. To creators of that show. And Big Mouth is one of my favorite shows. Yeah.
And it's super edgy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Yes, it is.
I love like the one episode where it's like they're making fun, like when the character meets the real life character, and he's like that they make the show for like 40-year-olds to laugh about kids doing sexual thing. I don't know. It was like really funny the way they worded it. And it was like, it's kind of true. Cause like people that like, I think their demographic is like our age. Like,
it is.
People
I think it
like
is, yeah.
Gen Xers. And like, cause you're laughing about what you went through. Like, I don't think it's like, I doubt kids that are going through it are watching Big Mouth and finding it hilarious. Cause they're probably thinking, this is horrible, my life, what I'm going through right now. It's not funny.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. So kudos to that team for being able to be funny without making fun of or attacking anyone. It's possible. Take note, comedians.
Well, right on. Well, I think let's end on a high note, on a good note there then, before we dive back down into maybe some negative aspects. I don't know.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for tuning in to this expanded Christmas holiday movie version of PopCultx.
I just imagine like someone that's like, oh, Christmas special, and like goes to watch us on YouTube, and they're like, this isn't about Christmas.
They're going to be so disappointed, but hopefully they'll enjoy it anyways. So thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.
Take care, everyone.